She lost her life's work after one stolen business meeting. She spent 4 years building a brand. It took one dinner meeting to watch it disappear onto someone else's menu. The wedding vendor had a reputation that stretched across 3 counties. She'd started her catering and event design business out of her home kitchen 11 years ago, hand-delivering tasting boxes to bridal expos and building a clientele almost entirely through word of mouth. By the time the dispute began, she had a signature offering, a curated multi-course tasting experience she called the ceremony menu, complete with proprietary flavor pairings, a specific plating philosophy, and a branded presentation booklet she'd spent $200 developing with a local graphic designer. It wasn't just food, it was intellectual property she'd formally documented and registered with a copyright notice in the spring of 2 years prior. The restaurant was a mid-sized farm-to-table establishment that had opened roughly 18 months before the lawsuit. The owner, a former line cook turned entrepreneur, had positioned his restaurant as a premier event venue, specifically targeting the wedding market. By all accounts, he was ambitious, and he was watching the wedding vendor carefully. The two had met at a bridal industry mixer, exchanged cards, and eventually sat down for what the restaurant owner described as a collaborative conversation, and what the wedding vendor later described as something else entirely. In February, she filed suit in civil court seeking $87,500 in damages. The estimated revenue loss from 4 wedding contracts she claimed to have lost after the restaurant began offering what she called a near-identical tasting experience to prospective couples. The lawsuit alleged copyright infringement, misappropriation of trade dress, and unfair business practices. Her case was meticulous. Side-by-side comparisons showed the restaurant's new event menu shared 14 distinct structural elements with her ceremony menu. The same 3-course progression, the same palate-cleansing interlude she'd branded as the pause, and promotional language that mirrored her own booklet almost sentence by sentence. She brought receipts. Literally, the graphic designer testified that the restaurant owner had contacted her separately, presented photographs of the vendor's materials, and commissioned something inspired by this. The designer, to her credit, had declined, but the conversation had happened. 2 former clients testified that they had been pitched the restaurant's offering and shown materials they initially believed were the vendor's own. The restaurant owner's defense was measured and, frankly, credible. His attorney argued that the general concept of a multi-course wedding tasting experience was industry standard, something no single business could claim ownership over. He pointed to 3 other regional caterers offering similar progressions predating the wedding vendor's registration. The language similarities, he maintained, were the natural result of operating in the same niche using the same culinary vocabulary. He had, he said, developed his menu independently and in good faith. His culinary director took the stand and walked through the development timeline. Nothing in the paper record conclusively placed the vendor's materials in the restaurant owner's hands. Then the text messages arrived. During discovery, the wedding vendor's attorney had requested all communications between the restaurant owner and any wedding-adjacent vendors from the prior 24 months. The restaurant's legal team produced them, all of them, apparently without fully reviewing the thread that would define the case. In a string of messages between the restaurant owner and a mutual industry contact, sent 9 days after his dinner meeting with the wedding vendor, he had written, "She basically handed me the whole concept. I just need someone to clean it up and make it mine." 3 messages later, "Don't tell her we talked. She'd lose it." The restaurant owner's attorney argued context, that the message reflected enthusiasm, not theft, and that the whole concept referred broadly to the wedding market opportunity, not any specific protected work. The judge listened. The courtroom was quiet. She didn't buy it. The ruling came down 6 weeks later. The judge found in favor of the wedding vendor on the misappropriation and unfair business practices claims, while declining to sustain the copyright infringement count, noting that specific legal thresholds for originality had not been fully met. The damages award came to $52,000, less than the $87,500 sought, but substantial. The restaurant was also ordered to cease use of the tasting experience format and the branded presentation materials within 30 days. The restaurant owner did not appeal. He quietly restructured his event offerings over the following months. The wedding vendor used the settlement to hire her first full-time employee and filed a formal trademark application for the ceremony menu name. They have not spoken since. What the text messages proved wasn't complicated. A man had sat across from a woman, listened to her life's work, and decided it was available for the taking. What they also proved was that the paper trail almost never lies. But here's what the case never resolved. If he had simply asked her to collaborate, offered a partnership, a licensing agreement, a fair cut, would she have said yes? And would any of this have been necessary at all?